Welcome to everybody. I'm Helen Kemp. I'm Chief Executive of Leeds Mind, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to our fourth Mindful Employer Conference and our first virtual conference, obviously made necessary by the times that we find ourselves in. I just want to say thank you to you all for attending, and thank you to all the contributors that we've got lined up this week. We have over 500 delegates registered, and we've got over 70 contributors who will be speaking to you about their experiences during the course of this week. And that includes Tom Reardon from Leeds City Council, Paul Farmer from National Mind, and many local employers like the police and the ambulance service. So we're really looking forward to that. Hopefully you've all managed to log in okay, and that you can hear and see what's going on. It's slightly unnerving because I can't see any of you. I'm a Bruce Springsteen fan, and what keeps coming into my mind is Radio Nowhere, and is there anybody alive out there? So I'm hoping that you're all alive out there and you're all raring to go. So this is the start of 5 days. Conference. You can attend as little or as much as you want. We have workshops every afternoon. Don't worry if you haven't signed up for those yet. You can sign up for them today. And please do take time to look at your delegate bags, because there's lots of useful information in there and we'll tell you what's going on. So over the week, we're looking at a fantastic range of sessions and workshops. So looking at how to manage the impact of COVID-19 on workplace mental health. We'll be looking at maintaining mentally healthy workplaces and in an increasingly uncertain environment. And also looking at the learning that we've all got from this pandemic and how we advance that into the future. So today is about setting the scene, looking at COVID-19, the workplace and mental health and how we've all adapted over the last year. We really want everyone to share all their experiences, so please join in the chat. And I would like to welcome, to start us off with this week, Tom Reardon, who is the Chief Executive of Leeds City Council and has always been an absolutely fantastic advocate for mental health in the city. So welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Helen, and great to see everybody. And what a fantastic initiative to be doing this week at this time. We've all been challenged so much over the last year, and the pandemic has affected every single household, every single individual in the country, and hopefully we're in a period now where we can see more optimism and we can see a way to back to not necessarily normality, but certainly something that will allow us to do those things that we love, that we've not been able to, whether that's from visiting a loved one in a care home, holding someone's hand, hugging someone, or going to a music gig or a football match. We did our music arena in Leeds is so good that Bruce Springsteen asked to open it, Helen, and with the genius of local government, we gave him a parking ticket, which was one of my more memorable conversations I had with my leader at the time. But yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, as ever, I think more than ever, actually, mental health and people's well-being mentally is probably something that as employers and as individuals, we've got to think about incredibly carefully during this time, because I think no matter how strong you are and however you know, however you are made up in terms of the way that you think and the way that you act and how resilient you are, I think everybody has been challenged over the last year in some way or another. All those basics of the things that we know have worked so well are going to be so important not to lose sight of. So we have in Leeds 800 now mental health first aiders who are trained, including a dedicated telephone line and a confidential advice service that our employees have access to. We have an intranet resources page for people, a very well established Healthy Minds group, a self-starting group of brilliant individuals who provide peer-to-peer support and a sort of safe space to discuss things. which hasn't been easy given that we haven't been meeting face to face, but it's kept going. And really strong staff networks that support individual cohorts of staff, whether that's BAME or LGBT plus, Q plus, sorry. We've developed occupational health drop-in surgeries, and the final thing that I just wanted to mention in terms of those things that I'm sure you're all doing and that we all need to do is about flexible working. One of the things that we do a staff survey every year, and I always make sometimes it's a bit painful as chief exec, I've got to say, but I make a commitment to read all the individual comments that are included. And one of the things that I noticed this time was the issue about whether people were going to work, where people were going to be working in the future, and how much choice they'd have over that was a big issue coming through. So we're trying over the next 2 or 3 months to try and work with our staff and with the teams to come up with what the best solution is, both for the individual, but also obviously the organisation and the services that we provide, because we haven't got unlimited resources and we've got to operate in a certain way. But I do quite strongly feel that this is one area. There are lots of the pandemic that we haven't been able to control, and lots of the future that we don't know fully. But the one thing that we can give people a bit more certainty around and individual control over, which is really important for people's mental health, to remember what you can do and what you can control rather than those things that you can't control, was to try and do a piece of work where we come to a joint view with every individual employee about where they're going to work and how much they're going to work from home and in the office. And so that we know that by the time we come back out of the full restrictions on the 21st of June. And that's a piece of work that I would sort of recommend as using this time to consult with people and to find out what's right for your own organisation, but also to give people a bit more control over their own lives and hopefully come out of it with a better working life, where you maybe do have less time rushing about on the commute, a bit better balance between spending more time at home, not spending as much money travelling, but also being in the office and being in touch with people face to face where you can be. So that was just the one thing that I wanted to say that was maybe new from this that I would suggest. The other thing is just to say, my for those of you who aren't aware, I've lived with mental health issues in my family for all my life, because my mum is bipolar and my dad had depression and alcohol problems. We had a very loving upbringing, but we knew that one day everything could be fine and the next day it could be really topsy-turvy and we could be in crisis as a family. And there are so many people in this situation. There are so many people who know people in that situation. The pandemic, I think, has had a big impact and accelerated probably the challenges that we have about children's mental health and anxiety particularly. And I think there we need to be very, very vigilant and very supportive of those members of staff who are going through that process with their families, because it takes over and becomes the all-encompassing issue for an individual family that they do anything to sort out, and any way that we can help them as employers find that little bit of space to do that and to be understanding about what people are going through, to be kind to people as well, to encourage that within the workplace as well as within our services, is really, really important going forward, because I think people will find that their individual challenges, the individual maybe where they feel they've been misunderstood by organisations in the past, that stuff will, I think, come to the fore even more in the next few months. We've seen with the this weekend with Black Lives Matter, with all sorts of issues that I think are going to be coming through, that we've got to be extremely sensitive and understanding of people's concerns about their own welfare and about being treated fairly. So I'll end on a positive. I really think that we're well placed as a city to take these issues on. Leeds is a very compassionate city. It's an understanding place. We've got a very strong collaborative spirit. We want to help each other. In any way that the council can do that, Helen, with you and your colleagues, we're really, really happy to, and really commend the Mindful Employer process to anybody who's new to it, who's listening in. It's a great way of giving you a good framework to pull all this together and make more sense of it. So have a great few days, and sorry I can't be here for all of it, but thanks, Helen, for the opportunity to speak to everybody. I think you're still on mute, Helen.
Apologies for that. It was always going to happen, wasn't it? I may as well get it over with early on in the day. Thank you, Tom, for that. It's always great to hear what a great city Leeds is. I think we're all proud to be part of Leeds, and it's great that Tom is doing so much around mental health in the city. I think Tom has made me just reflect slightly as a leader myself within Leeds, and obviously as chief exec of Leeds Mind. I think Tom saying being kind actually really resonates with me. It's one of our values at Leeds Mind, and I always say to people, actually start off by being kind to yourself, because actually once you're kind to yourself, you can start to be kind to other people, and actually being kind goes an awful long way. I think this year I can definitely say, has been without doubt one of the most challenging years in my years as a leader. And I think the top priority within Leeds Mind has actually been to support our staff. As a health and wellbeing charity ourselves, I always think you can't pour from an empty cup. There are lots of phrases that we've all learnt over this time. But actually, if we're not supporting our staff well, they can't be supporting our clients and people that use our services. So that has really been our priority this year. We've really made an effort to have regular communication, and I think hopefully our communications have really improved over this period of time, and we'll be taking that forward after the pandemic. Even if we've got nothing to say, we still communicate so that people aren't left concerned, and hopefully we've been open and transparent throughout this pandemic. We've encouraged regular check-ins for staff with their managers, so possibly going from monthly one-to-ones to having weekly check-ins, and always checking in on people's well-being and setting up well-being action plans where we need to. We've tried to make opportunities for social events, and that's difficult because we're aware that everybody has really got a bit of Zoom and email overload. So how you do that in a virtual way that is still meaningful and enables people to speak to their colleagues, not just about work stuff, but about social stuff. Being flexible, I think Tom said as well, that has been the key, really trying to be flexible. We've all heard the phrase many times, we're all in the same storm, but in different boats. And I think that's never been truer, really. You know, people have had caring responsibilities, homeschooling responsibilities, people are living on their own, people are living with lots of people, all bringing different challenges. So we have been as flexible as we possibly can over how people work their hours. So we are looking forward, again, as Tom said, we're looking forward into the future and starting to understand what life will look like post June the 21st, and how, again, we can take the learning from this pandemic into the future and look at how we can all work in a more agile manner, but still making sure that clients are at the heart of what we do, but that we are taking into account what our employees want as well, and getting a more flexible work-life balance. Okay, so I think our next speaker is Anna, who has been a client of ours at Workplace Leeds, and she's going to talk to us about her journey. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you, Helen. I started working with Workplace Leeds in September 2019. My mental health nurse referred me. I was struggling with depression and anxiety and working in an unsupportive environment. I'd had quite a few medical issues. Initially, I was working with a job retention specialist, and I remember when I moved onto a different specialist, Emlyn told me that when I'd first started working there, I was not receptive to what was on offer, because at that point I wasn't in the right place to actually realise that I needed that extra support. Then I decided that it was time for a career change. So in January 2020, I switched to an employment specialist. And of course, as we now know, 2020 was the perfect year for a career change. So unfortunately, COVID obviously had a massive impact on that. Looking for a job after 20 years as a teacher, I felt very much that it was that employers weren't willing to look past the fact that teaching was the only thing I'd ever done. When actually there are so many transferable skills with every job that you do. And working with my workplace leads advisors, they were able to help me to see all the different transferable skills that I did. I reworked my CV, I looked at different jobs that I wanted to apply for, all sorts of things really. And it was enlightening in that I had to realise how many different things that were out there that I had no idea what the job actually did. I can control a class of 36-year-olds, but the prospect of going out into a job that I have no idea what the job title actually means was really quite scary. I had a weekly session with my worker via Zoom once COVID kicked in. I haven't actually met my worker that I'm currently working with in person because of everything that's gone off. We were just about to meet up and then restrictions changed again. COVID obviously didn't help my journey. I had a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old in the house, so we were going from pre-exam stress to nothing. So that was interesting as well, because sometimes trying to get somewhere at home, I think, where you have a bit of privacy can be quite hard if you've got a family at home. And I was shielding as well because of my different health conditions. I think one of the highlights of working with workplace leads is when we've actually been able to really laugh at the different jobs that I found. I think probably the best one that I came across and that I applied for and sadly did not get an interview for was for a hen social media job working with a hen charity. And the job advert was written as if it was the hens speaking. And I can honestly say that we laughed until we cried when we looked at that advert in particular. And they say that laughter's the best medicine, and it definitely was in the case of that. I am now at the point where I have secured new employment. I am working for the prison service. It was a job that I remember being awake in the middle of the night one night and was just scrolling through job sites, and there it popped. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I fired off an application with all the information that I'd worked on with my different workers. And I got an interview. And I started that new job last month, and then I was put back into shielding. So I managed to hold 3.5 days before I had to say, I'll see you in a month. But the fact that I've managed to secure that job has been a massive boost for me. Kay, my workplace leads worker, is still working with me while I'm shielding. And just seeing her every week is extra support that is fantastic. And Workplace Leads as a whole is the most amazing service. And I wish that it was in every town nationwide, because I can't fault it. I really can't. And Helen, I want to really say a massive thank you to everybody at Leeds Mind for offering that service. A friend of mine has just started working with them because I told them that they needed to, and has found that it's made a difference to their confidence already after 3 weeks. So ultimately, I am in a better place in terms of my mental health, ready to start an entirely different career. Although you may argue that a class of 36-year-olds are similar in attitude sometimes when you work with some of the prisoners. I'll update you more on that once I've been working there a bit longer. But yeah, thank you so much, Workplace Leads, and yeah, it was just been fantastic.
Thank you, Anna, so much for that, and thank you for coming and sharing your story today. And I think that is a great story. We almost need to listen to that every Monday morning, and that reminds us why we're here and the difference that we can make. So yeah, thank you so much. I will hand over to Laura now. Laura is the coordinator of the Leeds Mindful Employer Network and has been really instrumental in pulling this conference together today. So thank you, Laura, and she will just provide an introduction to the network.
Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to add my own quick welcome to today and to the week ahead. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura McCullugh, the coordinator of Leeds Mindful Employer Network. It's been really fantastic to work on the programme for this week and to think about the different themes that have come out of our discussions over the past year. And we've run lots of events where many of you have attended to share your experiences and your learning from this time. I hope that you feel that these discussions are reflected in the programme, and many of you are already here presenting as speakers. So thank you for being so willing to share with others what you've been through and what you've managed. While it has undoubtedly been an extremely challenging time, it has also been very positive to have facilitated some of the events that we've run and really witnessed the huge amount of support that employers have been showing to their staff throughout this time. And I think this can only continue, and I do hope and believe that the legacy of COVID-19 will be positive for mental health and wellbeing at work, and we will have healthier workplaces in the future as a result of some of the changes we've all made over this time. Please do join us in the network if you aren't already a member. I think there is huge value in coming together and sharing experiences and supporting each other. And I think the more we grow the network, the more we can hopefully make sure that those positive impacts from this time can reach more people and more industries and more sectors that we might not be reaching already. I do urge you to come to our events and get involved as much as you can. We'd love to see you there. If you aren't already charter signatories, do also think about signing the Mindful Employer Charter. There's information about this in the delegate bag, and you'll hear from Mark Poole later today, who will tell you more about Mindful Employer. But thank you all for coming. I do hope you find it a valuable and positive experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura, for that. And I think that's a really good introduction to the network, and it has been invaluable for lots of employers over this period of time to actually give peer support and to share experiences as well, which again is what we really want people to do today, is actually share their experiences so we can all learn from each other. So I just want to introduce you to the last speaker of this session, the first session this morning, which is Michelle, who is a poet. And I am really looking forward to hearing from Michelle. So welcome, Michelle.
Hello everybody. I'm Michelle Clarke, and I'm delighted to be the poet in residence for the Mindful Employer Conference this week. So I will be in lots of different workshops, and I will be collecting words and feelings. That's great. So I'd like to begin our journey together, because we are going to have a journey together. So I'd like to begin our journey with a poem by one of my writers called Kenneth Kelly, and he's aged 83. And this poem was written through the pandemic on our online sessions. Now, days are winding down, COVID days alone, quiet moments looking out from my window at dusk. The counsellors stay as a Sunday silence every day. Late afternoon, all is still, safer, yet youth doing wheelies on his motorbike. He goes back and forth past my house, no silencer. The noise screws in my head. I resist the urge to dash out and shout, "For sake, pack it in! What are you playing at?" As I once did. "Having fun," he replied, stopping before me. Crazy kid. But strangely, he's dear to me now. And the lads that lounge in groups outside the paper shop, talking tough as lads do. I grumbled about them before, but this old introvert would like to walk up to them and say, "Hiya lads, how you doing?" 83 and going on, I think to myself with a smile, my heart is warm as I think of them this evening and watch them, the late sun fading away. They break up and make off to their homes. Soon, I'll not see them lounging and laughing in the scruffy rendezvous by the paper shop. They'll be young men, and the hollow absence between seeing them as gobby lads to knowing they'll be out in the town down in lagers will numb me with its swiftness, and I'll be sad, for they are dear to me somehow now. So that was by Kenneth. And the Clear Out Your Closet group is a writing group that emerged in July 2019 from an initiative funded by Space2 project aimed at bringing together the isolated in communities. The workshops were held at the old fire station, TLC, nurseries, primaries throughout Seacroft, Gipton, Hales and Chapeltown. And due to a necessity throughout COVID, we've seen this group grow online and now become a user-led peer support group of people suffering from mental ill health triggered by trauma and distress, which requires constant management. Our members' age ranges from 20 to 83. And our group achieves a diversity that is often hard to establish within projects. It branches and bridges the gap between race, creed, faith and class, reaching online from Finland, Ireland, Saltburn and all over Yorkshire. This diversity brings a shared sense of solidarity, implanting mindfulness, resilience, and an honesty in conversations that are hard. And honesty in conversations that are hard are given safe ground. Sharing that is rich in experience and empathy. A giving and hearing and listening. A sharing of shared experience. Well-being through writing is writing to release, to express your emotions, understanding how you feel, putting you first. It's a coping tool for mental health, allowing safe space to reflect, turning back to self, a positive thinking, speaking kindly to yourself, like Helen says, thinkings and conversations on the page rather than carrying them inside. It puts you at the centre of your world. Clear Out Your Closet is a safe drop-in space, inclusive to all. So if you're out there, you want to join. And it is supported in partnerships with Space2. The group has been a lifeline for some people in the high-risk groups, and the single people cut off 3 sessions a week for the Clear Out Your Closet and Care Leavers Collective for the first 12 weeks of COVID pandemics. But the projects such as Inspiration Through Lockdown and the Sounds of Lockdown, Inspiration Through Isolation, and Sounds of Lockdown and the Unsung Words have been really vital for our sense of productivity and well-being, and they've had a massive impact and a feel-good factor. Sharing their words and sharing voices, becoming part of something bigger. Their writing has become a practice and a significance. The group are now published writers, and this is their anthology. They're now published writers with their own anthology called Sounds of Lockdown. It's a keepsake and a memory, a resilience, a time shared. What's invaluable about Space2 projects for the artists and for the participants is the sharing of art practices coming together. I was able to invite the Care Leavers Collective, a team of young writers supported by Health for All and Libby Timworth, who are care leavers to be part of the anthology. Throughout Leeds, from Chapel Radio to Tapestry from Kerry to Soundscapes to the creating genius of Yelena, there was a creative buzz and there's a drive that is motivated when words that are written are validated and heard, and we're hearing each other. The enjoyment sense of shared ownership and feedback shows in this connection. And I just want to, I've just lost the last bit, but I just want to end with, oh yeah, it shows in the connection. It feels good, they say, to have made new friends. I enjoyed the feeling of being published as part of the project, the sense of connection with others that might read my work. It feels good to share in this way and to be open to that process. And during COVID, it's been people who furloughed, it's open to all public. I think the groups and the artists and anyone who are involved in creative projects or nature outdoors will have access life skills and well-being and a resilience tool, a way to look at things in a different way. So I'm going to be seeing you guys later, and I hope you have your pens with you. And I want to leave you with a quote, and it's my favourite quote, and I walk with it, and it's from Rumi, a 16th century Persian poet. And it says, out beyond wrongdoings and right doings, there is a field, and I will meet you there. So I will meet you later in that field. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That was amazing, and I love the name of the group. It evokes all sorts of emotions in me already. So thank you, and we will be hearing from Michelle later. We've had loads of positive feedback on the poem as well, Michelle, from people listening, so that's fantastic. And as I say, we look forward to hearing from you again later. So now, if we I think we are running slightly late, but we'll still take a 5-minute break. So if you want to go and get yourself a cup of tea, comfort break, go and get some fresh air, it's sunny outside, please do, but be back in 5 minutes for our first panel discussion. And thank you all, and see you soon.